So this is Dr. Andrew Jones, and he runs a YouTube channel about being a vet, and he seems to be a little bit of an anti as well. And strangely, he's managed to sort of combine the sort of topic of animal rights with Donald Trump, strangely enough. So we'll hear a bit of what he's got to say. But first of all, let's just get a bit of a background of what kind of guy he is.
Featuring Lewis, who's doing okay. And as you all likely know, he's being diagnosed with a pretty serious type of mouth cancer called fibrosarcoma, but he's being maintained really well on primarily moderate doses of CBD oil, which is really controlling his pain. He's still going for walks, still regularly eating and drinking. So while that's happening, I'm keeping him comfortable, knowing unfortunately full well that shortly he's going to be euthanized.
That's right, you heard it right. His dog seems to be suffering from some sort of aggressive mouth cancer. Now, rather than doing the decent thing, which you think you would do as a vet, which would be to put him out of his misery, because, why would you prolong the animal's suffering? He instead is treating his dog with CBD oil. Now, in case some of you don't know what that is, that's just basically an extract of cannabis. So he's just keeping his dog stoned and just prolonging his suffering, basically. It's not terribly ethical, is it? But never mind. Let's hear what he's got to say about Trump.
So throughout Mr. Trump's campaign, prior to becoming elected president of the United States, he got this. I think you might be able to see it. He got a $5,000 donation from the Safari Club of the United States. So that's an organization that supports big game hunting by U.S. citizens. Gives you a pretty key indicator in terms of what he values and what groups are going to support him.
So apparently we have some guilt by association here. So just because Donald Trump received some money from the Safari Club of the United States, he must therefore what? Support big game hunting? Well, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I suspect he probably does, given what his sons like to get up to. But that isn't something that the President of the United States can influence anyway. I mean, all that safari hunting that they do is generally done in Africa, not in the United States. So it's not like the President can have any effect on that anyway. It's probably more likely that they are hoping he's going to support the Second Amendment, I would have thought. But considering it's a piffling $5,000, to sort of talk about this is like a sort of guilt by association it's just ridiculous. I mean, you're just talking about feelings at this point, not actual reality.
So he is quoted on record as saying, here, he will no longer go to the Ringling Brothers Circus because they no longer use, I put in / abuse elephants. And all you have to do is go to any zoo throughout the United States and Canada, talk to the people that are caring for the elephants that are there. They're there because they've gone through the circus and they've gone through sort of the circus trainers.
So just because Donald Trump doesn't want to go to the circus anymore because he used to like to see the elephants, he must be complicit in their abuse in some way? I mean, come on. If this is 2017. The Ringling Circus do not abuse their animals. You just don't like it. It's using feelings rather than facts at this point. And let's be honest, if I was an elephant and I had a choice between living in a zoo, which you seem to support, or being trained and given a purpose in life and a sort of a job to do each day, I know what I'd choose. And I know that, if you take a horse or a dog or almost any other animal, they'd prefer to be worked as well. So, I just don't buy it, really, to be honest. But again, this is a hugely weak argument. It's just based on nothing.
Third point. His big game hunting sons, Donald Jr. and Eric, they've been pictured posing with an elephant that they've killed, with leopards that they've killed, with a crocodile being hung upside down that they've killed. No, your sons are not necessarily reflective of you in terms of you can't control what your sons are going to do or your daughters, and nor can I. But clearly, there's been some form of value put onto animals in terms of, do you go out and kill them or do you value them?
Now, this might seem crazy to you, but killing animals because you love them is also an option. Now, yeah, I'm sure Donald Trump's sons aren't going to Africa to shoot the things that they shoot. purely because out of love for them, particularly, they just like to do it. But then you have to look at, the benefits they bring. They're spending tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this, which is driving money into conservation in those areas. And it means that land is set aside for these animals to flourish. The alternative is that these farmers are going to plough over the land and grow crops. And it's all very well, isn't it, for you, a privileged white American, to sit there patting these people on the head and saying, oh no, you should keep this like some sort of park for us to enjoy and to sort of allow us to go and look at the beautiful predators that are around on your land. These people have got, they've got a living to make. And if it wasn't for people like Donald Trump's sons, they would have destroyed that habitat entirely by now, just like they did in North America, just like they did in Europe, because we needed to feed ourselves and we needed to monetize the land. So this is completely disingenuous and incredibly ignorant. But again, like before, just because Donald Trump's sons go big game hunting doesn't mean that he's into big game hunting. And even if he was into big game hunting, what difference does this make to his tenure? What has this got to do with anything? This isn't a policy.
No pet in the White House. The first time in the last 60 years, the Donald owns no pets. If you're watching this video, you are a pet owner, as myself, as are nearly 60% of the households within the United States and Canada. Most of us own pets. More of us own pets than don't.
So now he's really grasping at straws here. Oh no, Donald Trump doesn't own a pet. How terrible. I mean, this really is going to impact his ability to be the president of the United States, isn't it? And of course, we all know that must mean that he's evil in some way. It's strange though, isn't it? Because, in Islamic communities, people don't generally have pets, at least not dogs anyway. It's not really the done thing. And I strongly suspect that if Donald Trump was a Muslim, he would not be saying this at all, would he? But this is sort of indicative of what we're getting at the moment. This is across the board where, we've got this sort of, the left have basically lost, okay? They've lost the culture war. And they lost a few years ago, and politics has caught up. This is what happens. And the reason that they've lost is because they're becoming more and more tyrannical, and they like to shut down conversation with slurs and feelings rather than reality. And we've all got sick of it. And this is just, the personification of it. Oh no, he doesn't own a dog, he must be evil. I mean, what the hell is that? What does that even mean? And you're never going to win. The left are never going to get into any kind of power ever again, unless they take a good, long, hard look at themselves and stop going on about irrelevant bullshit and start actually picking apart policies. I mean, with Donald Trump, there's lots of policies I disagree with, as it happens. But nobody on the left is addressing those. Instead, they're just calling him Hitler or, a fascist or whatever. It's just stuff that's just completely irrelevant to the conversation. Just carrying on with the same culture which made them lose in the first place. When are we going to get a centre ground? When are we going to get some kind of consensus on what the right way forward is when with these people on the left are completely balmy? Anyway, I want to know what you think, because I know, this is like crossing over between the sort of the shooting and the animal rights thing and Donald Trump and all the rest of it. But, when we saw those rioters on Inauguration Day, didn't they look a bit like Hunt Sabs to you? In some respects, this is good for us because we've been putting up with this crap for years. And finally, the general public is starting to see it. It's seeping through because it's not just about animal rights, is it, anymore? It's about freedom of thought. It's about conservative values. It's about how you see the world. And then people, instead of engaging in a fair debate, just like with Hunt Sabs, seek to attack you and abuse you and demonise you and dehumanise you to try and make it so you shut down the conversation so you don't ever express yourself anymore. This is what the modern culture war is. And they're not learning. But anyway, that's me. I'm out.